pressing start on this stream just 1 minute early, just 'cause your girl likes to be on time, and on time means early. So we are getting started just 1 minute early. Today I am excited for what we're going to do because it's a little bit different, and we are actually going to do, instead of a word today, we are going to do kind of a practice micro painting for one of our spooky paintings, because I want to make sure that what I have in my brain will work. So it's a little bit different than what we've been doing recently, where we just pick a word and then paint it. Let me just turn y'all around so you can see me while I introduce what we're doing today. So yeah, we are doing a pick a word and then paint whatever that word represents or makes me feel or what have you. We've done 8 of those so far, and then we've done 2 little foxes. I think that's the correct number of things. But today we are going to do kind of a practice because we've been working on these spooky paintings, which have been working so well, and I am so happy with how they've been coming out. But we are going to do, instead of the word painting, we're going to do a practice for one of those. And I'm really excited for this one because this is something that I've kind of been intimidated to paint before. Just like with the little fox, doing animals is just kind of scary to me. Doing anything that's more realistic and like alive is just in general more scary to me. Hopefully we're not having too many issues with the video and audio because we do have a storm rolling through. Hurricane Helen has been a thing, or Helene, I guess it is. But we're gonna do this anyway, and it'll be what it'll be. So we are gonna go ahead and I will flip you back around and we'll get started. I have my tea today. We're drinking the Rose Earl Grey that I love so much. So we are getting you turned back around so that you can see what's going on. As always, Instagram, Painting on Wheels, Etsy, Painting by Shelby Lynn. Feel free to check it out. And we will go ahead and jump in. We're going to use some titanium white from Artist's Loft. That was a lot of titanium white. We did not need that much. That's okay though. We are going to dig in here and grab our neutral gray from Artist's Loft. That was a much more appropriate amount, thank you. We are going to grab our silver from Artist's Loft, and if you have been following along, you likely know what those 3 colors mean in terms of things that I am painting. So if you have a guess as to what titanium white, neutral gray, and silver mean in a painting, you've been following along enough to have a guess. Put your guess into the comments. We're going to grab some phthalo blue from Artist's Loft. As always, I tell you what paints I'm using so that you are able to get them and paint along if you want to. You do not have to. There is no obligation here to paint along. We're going to grab some violet from Artist's Loft. Oh, that was a lot of violet. Well, okay. These paints are not coming out in controlled amounts right now. We're going to grab some black from Artist's Loft. We are going to grab our sap green from Artist's Loft. We will grab, let's see. I think I want to grab a pink. Yeah, we're going to use our light magenta. This isn't one that we've used before, I don't think. So light magenta from Artist's Loft. It's a very pinky color. Alright. And we are set up with our paints and we can get started. we will grab, to start off, we're going to grab our small brush here. It's just a small, flat, soft brush. Dip it in some water, coat the paper. If you are painting along, I am painting on a piece of paper today. This is a small square of paper. That's it. I do this for the minis because A, it's cheaper, and like, who has money in this day and age? Who has money? Not me. So we do it on a little piece of paper because A, it's cheaper, and B, because if you are painting along, I want the supplies that I am using to be accessible to anyone who wants to join. And that means making sure that if I am using something, it's something that you can potentially get access to, and it's something that won't break the bank. My paints are from Artist's Loft. That is where I get them, is Michael's. I don't know if they're sold elsewhere or if that's like a Michael's exclusive brand. But I get my paints from Michael's. If you have a Michael's near you and you want to paint along, feel free to check it out. Just because I'm using Artist's Loft paint doesn't mean that you have to. There is absolutely no obligation. If you can only afford to go to Walmart and pick up their like 89-cent bottles of paint, that's okay too. That's also why I tell you what colors it is so that if you are using a different brand of paint that's not my preferred brand, you can find something that's closer matching. Ah, my brush just rolled into my green. Super fun. So all that we did here is we created kind of a night sky situation. And then we're going to grab our itty bitty brush. This is our medium-sized tiny brush. I don't have more information than that for you, but it's just a medium-sized tiny brush. We're going to go into our white, and we're going to make a little circle kind of in the upper third center part of the paper. I don't know if we're going to end up doing a spooky painting today, just because I am very tired. And if you live with a chronic illness or disability, you might be aware, as I am, that weather can greatly impact your body. And so with this storm rolling in from the hurricane, my body is not a very happy camper today. You might be able to tell in my voice that I probably didn't sleep very well last night, which is accurate. But we are doing our best, and we're not going to stop doing paintings just because my body isn't super happy. We're just going to do the best that we can. So I went in with a little bit of white. We're making a little moon here. I'm then going in with my neutral gray and kind of just plopping it in there to create a little bit more of a moony effect. And then we will come in with our silver, because I absolutely love putting silver in my moons. It gives a little bit of like a glowy situation. Gives a little bit of a shimmer. It's one of my favorite things to do with my moons that I paint. If you have been tuning in with us, please let me know if you prefer this angle over the other one. I decided to give this another go today. I know that we did it on one of our early streams, but I decided to give it another go today. So I'm kind of just putting in these colors, moving my brush in a little bit of a small circle. I'm going to grab some more white to make sure that we're not getting like too much of one thing happening. And we're just kind of blending these all together in the moon, trying to keep our circle pretty nice. As always, if you are painting along, I have quite a bit of practice painting circular moons at this point. If yours is not perfect, it's okay. It is genuinely okay. I don't expect my moon to be perfect, and it's not. It has a little bit, it's hard to see from your angle, but it isn't perfectly circle. It's got a little bit of some stuff going on, and that's okay. If you are seeing perfectly circular painted moons online, they either have a lot of practice and they are able to freehand it like that, or they did multiple takes. So don't let the internet lie to you about making perfect circles, because they're not that easy. So now we are going to go in with, we're going to mix up a quick little color. And I'm going to grab my favorite brush, which if you have been here a little bit, you might know what it is. It's this little angled brush. It is slightly angled. It's just a very fluffy, nice little brush. As you can see, it has had a lot of use. Eventually, I want to replace these brushes. That's not today. So I'm going to make up a very, very dark gray color. So I'm getting a lot of black and a tiny bit of white. I'm also not necessarily going to mix this perfectly because I'm also going to end up adding in a little bit of that sap green that we pulled. And the reason for that is that this is going to help add some dimension to what we're about to do. Because what we're about to do is make a cliff. Or like a rock mountain structure thing. So I'm going to decide where I want it based on where I'm going to want my friend to be. Because we're going to end up putting a wolf on this. So I'm going to come in right here, just a little bit below my moon, kind of, my brush is hitting just at the far edge of the moon over here. And I'm just going to swoop it back. Using a fast motion like that tends to help me get a pretty straight line. I'm then just going to kind of build this out and down. My cliff does not need to go straight down. Have you ever seen a cliff go straight down? I don't think so. So we're going to just let that do what it wants to do a little bit. So my cliff is kind of coming in and then back out, which is okay. That's fine. Works for me. The next thing that we're going to do is give that brush a nice rinsey rinse. Nice little rinsey rinse. And we're going to mix up a very dark green color. So we're going to use some black and we're going to use some of that sap green. We don't want too much black because we still want to be able to kind of tell that it's a greenish color, but we don't want it to be like super overbearing because it's night. We've talked before. When it's night, the colors are a little bit more muted. So I'm going to start by building up trees that are not on this cliff because I don't want the trees that are going to end up being on this cliff to get in the way of the wolf that we're going to paint on here. So I'm going to come in. And we're just going to do the same kind of trees that we did yesterday if you were here for that. And we're just going to make them like those evergreen Christmassy tree type things. So I'm just going to swoop up. Oh, that is not straight at all. That's fine. And then we're going to just use small brush strokes, bringing it down and out from that little line. Down and out from that little line. On both sides. Oh, I just put my elbow straight into my blue. We've been doing that a lot this week. I think that's like the 5th time I've ended up putting my elbow in my paint. Just kind of going down and out, letting those brush strokes kind of be a little bit messy, especially towards the edges, because that's going to give you your little bit of a tree effect happening. A little bit of a leafy situation happening there. We can put as many trees down here as we want. If you're painting along, do what makes you happy. That's what's important. Remember, trees don't really grow Trees don't really grow symmetrically out in the wild, in real life. So you don't have to make your trees symmetrical in your painting. Even if you have OCD like me. That's one of the biggest challenges for me when painting like landscapes and stuff, is that I have a tendency to want to make things very symmetrical, which isn't necessarily helpful. So I've got 2 trees there. Those are going to kind of be our furthest back trees. I'll go ahead and incorporate in a little bit more green into my mixture, because as things get closer, they would become more pigmented or lighter depending on what we're doing. You can just generally see them better. So I'm making this tree be a little bit closer than the other ones just by using a slightly lighter colored green paint. And we'll let those trees overlap a little bit. I'll put another one here. Again, just brushing up and then bringing it down on a diagonal. If your brush is loaded up really nicely with paint and you have a decent amount on it, you might get some textured bits in here, which is always nice. I'm going to put another one right here by the edge, and again just bringing it down and out. I won't need to do the other side on this one because the other side is just the tape edge. Alright, I'm going to really quickly go turn on the light in here for y'all and see if that helps a little bit. We've pretty consistently been just using the window light, but with it being a little bit more overcast today, let's see if that'll help. I almost feel like that may have made it worse. Let me know what you think. I can go turn that light back off if it's creating too much of a reflection-y situation here. Okay. So sitting here thinking about this, I think I want to make my moon a little bit bigger. This is all part of the process. I don't feel like I ever get things right on the first try. But I am still learning, and you're just kind of learning along with me right now. So to make my moon a little bit bigger, we're going to do the same process. Gray, white, and silver. And we're just going to gently bring our brush in and push it out. My brush is too wet right now. We're going to dry that off real quick. I'm going to grab a very small or a medium-sized fluffy, very dry brush that we just haven't used, and use that to kind of grab some of that water so that that water won't drip and be a problem and make a drippy moon, because that's not what we want. So I'm just going to slowly work on bringing this moon out, kind of just putting my brush into the moon and then pushing out to kind of help keep that circular shape. It can also help if when you put your brush down onto the paper and you're pushing out, you give it a little bit of a roll inwards towards the moon, because that helps create a really, really nice line. My moon is not very circle shaped right now, but that's okay. We're going to work on it. I almost want this moon to be like unrealistically big. As a reminder for anyone who is newly joining us, I am on social media. You can see my social media right here hanging out on our little paint board. Instagram, you can follow me to check out my paintings at Painting on Wheels. And on Etsy, you can look at Painting by Shelby Lynn. I don't have very much up there right now. It's just been a slow work in progress getting more on there. But you can see all of my currently completed work on Instagram. If you are interested in purchasing my work, many of my paintings, most of my paintings, are available for purchase. I also do commissions. If you see something you like that's not available for purchase, which again is very, very few things, but it does happen. For instance, these micro paintings are not available for purchase just because they're basically my practice. But I would be happy to do a commission of one if you are interested in purchasing one of my micro paintings. So to give my moon a little bit of texture, I'm just coming back in with a little bit of whichever color, silver or gray, I think fits best. In this case, it's silver. And we're just giving it a little dabble-do-ya. And that's just creating a little bit of texture, a little bit of areas that are lighter or darker. Alright, I am now very happy with that moon. Much, much happier. So I'm now going to go back into my greens. We're going to put a little bit of a bush situation over here. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of that green. I didn't really pay attention to whether I grabbed the lighter one or the darker one because it's not going to make a huge difference. And I'm just kind of tapping that in a little bit at a time, making sure it has pretty full coverage, but it doesn't need to be like perfect coverage. Towards the edges, I'm also kind of putting my brush down and then pushing up and out, just like that, push up and out to create a little bit less of a perfect round effect, and again, help with like making some leaves. Just a little doot doot doot. There you go. We've got a bush. Alrighty. Now, before we go any further, we're going to go back into the sky real quick because we haven't done this yet. And we're going to mix up a very light silver color using our white and our gray. And because this is, so much of this painting is already kind of filled in, what we're going to do to make some stars is we're going to just dot. So I am going to switch over to my teeny tiny baby brush. This is our smallest brush that we have. It is very, very small. If you look at it compared to my finger, like, it's very small. This brush is really helpful for doing those very, very small details. So what we'll do is we'll come in with a pretty loaded up brush, because the more loaded it is, the easier it is to just get teeny tiny, little bitty and really we're barely touching the brush to the canvas here to create some stars. I would typically normally do like the splatter technique, which you've seen me do before on like our pumpkin patch painting, but I want to make sure, since this painting is so small, that we're not overrunning the rest of the area. Oh, that was a big one. My hand shook. That's almost like a second little bitty moon. That's fine. Again, try to not put your stars super orderly, because like if you look up at the night sky, there's not really a order to stars. And so if we're trying to be representative of real life in this painting, we don't want it to be super orderly, because that just wouldn't make sense. Alright. Now we get to make a little wolf. And we are going to stick to using our teeny tiny mini brush for our wolf. But first we need to mix, oh, words. Words are hard today. Mix up some more paint. So we can use the gray-greenish color that we used before. There's not enough green in there to really tint that so much. I'm gonna add some more black to it. This is the gray-green situation that we used for the cliff. And we're just gonna kind of repurpose that little bit of paint. We're gonna add in black until it's a darker gray color, as dark as you want it to be. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that silver that we have and kind of just like marble it in. I don't want it to be fully mixed, I just want to kind of marble it in a little bit. And now this is where things are going to get tricky because my hands are a little bit non-cooperative today. If you've been tuning in, you know that I do have a disability, and sometimes my disability makes things a little bit hard. So this wolf may not be perfect, but we're going to give it our best go. So using our teeny tiny brush, we're going to create 2 little sets of legs. I'm just pulling the paint straight up. I'm touching it to the cliff side and pulling it straight up. And then we're going to connect all of those legs as best as we can. You don't want it to be a straight line because a wolf wouldn't have a straight lined belly. And then you're going to come up kind of an arch shape. My wolf might be a little bit big for his cliff. And we're going to fill in the body basically from where the top of that arch shape is, going the rest of the way through the body. We'll go ahead and make a little tail coming off the back. So you want to make sure you're going from the back and then down. We'll go ahead and bring his chest up a little bit more. And then this will go into the head. But to do the head, we need the moon to be a little bit more dry. So we are just going to hang out for a second and let that moon dry a touch more so that we're not trying to paint a dark wolf on a white moon. What we can do in the meantime is take a little bit more of that more marbled silver and kind of just work it into the wolf a little bit. We can also drink some tea or water. Remember, hydration is important. I haven't even touched that pink that we grabbed. I meant to put that in the sky. Whoops. I'm going to drink some more tea for a minute while we hang out. And I think because we are going to have quite a bit of extra paint, we are going to go ahead and start on the other spooky painting today. Just because I don't want to waste the paint. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that very quickly while we are waiting. And so for this one, we are going to use this canvas here, which we already started. It's already been started. It's kind of a very night sky-y look to it right now. We will start on this after the wolf dries, and we'll have to decide on orientation and all of that. In the meantime, while this keeps drying a little bit, I can show you how the other one ended up when it was completely dry from yesterday. So this is our spooky painting from yesterday. It's got very Kiki's Delivery Service vibes to it, and I'm absolutely in love with it. It is so fun. It's really great. I'm very, very pleased with this one. The only thing that's left to be done on this painting is to do our edges, which I will probably do either later today or tomorrow. if you remember from when we were finishing up our first spooky painting, I told you that I usually use my gold on my edges, but because these paintings are spooky, my plan is to just put black on the edges of them, and then I might go back in and add a little bit of like gold detailing or something on the edges, but we will see. We will see. My one goal for today is to not dip my paintbrush into my tea again, because that happened yesterday and I was very sad about it. It was not a fun time because I was not done with that tea. But let's go ahead and try to do this wolf head really quick. It may not be perfect. So I want to kind of depict my wolf here, howling at the moon. So I want to kind of create like an open mouth situation. I'm not totally happy with this wolf. We might end up doing another practice of a wolf before we put our wolf on our other spooky painting. But I think that's about as good as it's going to get for right now. Partially because of my own hands and partially just because it is what it is. And this is a very, very small situation. So we will go ahead and let this finish drying. Take that off and put it aside. And then we are going to grab our other spooky painting. So I'm just lifting my thingamajig here to put my painting on. And then there we go. We have switched over on the paintings. So for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to start off by defining our cliff situation. We've still got quite a bit of the dark green, and I can just mix in a little bit of our gray to it until I'm happy with that color. And then again, we're gonna I'm defining the cliff on this one prior to the moon, just because there's already a whole star situation happening. And I want to kind of base my moon around where I want to put my wolf instead of the other way around, because I feel like that'll be more effective. So we're going to cut into the cliff again, like before, this time on a much larger scale. I will have my cliff go ahead and start to come on out towards the bottom here, because that makes sense in this larger painting. And we're going to kind of just work in dark green, gray color into the rest of this space over here. This is definitely a painting that's going to span over a couple of days, just because if you can see, like, this first layer of paint is not covering everything that I did before. And I didn't expect it to. But that's part of why we're starting on it today, is because I want to have the time, you know, tomorrow or whatever, to go back in over it and fill that in a little bit better. That's also why I'm not super stressed about having my color be perfect right now, is because I know that we're still seeing stars through this. I know that we're going to go back over this probably tomorrow or the next day, and it's going to change the color a little bit, because we want to make sure that we are not seeing stars through a cliffside when this painting is done. The whole reason that I even did a full background of stars and night sky on this was because I thought that I had an idea when I started these paintings. I thought I did. And it turns out it wasn't working for me. So we've kind of been moving through these paintings a little bit more slowly than I initially had hoped, just because of the fact that the original idea that I had just wasn't working for me. And that's okay. Your first idea doesn't have to be the final idea. It really doesn't. And if you need to take a little bit of time and kind of reassess your ideas and what you've done so far, then that's okay. Nobody is judging you if you have to start over. Nobody's going to be mad at you for doing things in a different way because it wasn't working the way that you wanted to. Literally no one. So don't put that pressure on yourself when no one is putting it on you. Now, I think this might work better if we lower this down a little bit more for y'all. Yeah, that seems like it's a little bit better of a view. Now I will go ahead and go in and do our moon now that we have our cliff kind of defined. I want to put my moon fairly low to the cliff here, and we're going to do a pretty big moon. One thing that I think is funny is that we've been doing this live stream. I think this is our 9th live stream now. And in the whole time we've been doing this so far, I have not painted a lake, a stream, an ocean, any of it. Which I think is funny because I kind of, when I started painting earlier this year, I was doing so many lakes and oceans and streams and such. Like, I have so many of them. And it's because I love doing them. But also, I just think it's funny because, like, I absolutely love painting streams and oceans and such. And I just haven't done one lately. So I think once we finish our spooky painting series, which unfortunately these also are not for sale, these have intended owners already. They aren't commissioned, but they have intended owners because they're going to be gifts. Once these are done, I would be happy to do a commission of any of them. If that is something that you are interested in, you can email me or you can message me on Instagram if you are interested in a commission or whatever method of communication you typically use to communicate with me. You can reach me that way as well. Like if you have my number, there's no point in you reaching out via Instagram if you have my number. But anyway, if you are interested in getting a mini painting, a micro painting done as a commission, or if you are interested in a spooky painting, feel free to reach out. There are many paintings that I would very gladly do as a commission that we have already done as micro paintings. Again, my Instagram is painting_on_wheels. So you can contact me there if you are interested in a commission and we can talk details. So we are doing the same kind of technique that we did with the other moon and just kind of using that silver, the gray, and the white and kind of just blending them together within the moon. You can technically do your blending and make the color that you want for your moon on whatever you're using as a paint palette. But I personally like doing it this way because it ends up creating a really cool effect of having it not just be like one color. And we're basically marbling together these colors on the canvas, which I love. I love that. Cool. I am pretty happy with that moon. The anxious part is going to be putting a wolf over it. But that's okay. That's okay. That's not today. We will go ahead and drop in some trees. I'm almost out of green paint on my little palette here. That's okay. again, with doing these trees, it's going to be the same thing as kind of the cliffside in terms of we're going to go back over these in the near future, so these do not have to be perfect. They just need to get put in so that I have an idea of where they're going to go. An interesting thing about me as a painter is that I have something known as aphantasia. What that means is that when I close my eyes, I do not see anything. A lot of people, if they close their eyes, they can see like whatever they're trying to picture in their mind. So if you close your eyes right now and try to picture a purple elephant, and you can see a purple elephant, then you do not have aphantasia. There are different levels of it. So like if you're able to just see the outline of the elephant, but you're not able to see that it's purple, then that's a level of aphantasia. If you're able to see the elephant in all its glory, then that is not aphantasia. That is normal visualization functioning. It's a really interesting thing. And so when I close my eyes and I try to picture a purple elephant, I literally see nothing. Nothing at all. So for me, when I'm painting, I'm not visualizing any of it. I don't know what our end product is going to look like. I might have a concept idea in my head, like today I wanted to paint a wolf in front of a moon. I don't know what that looks like. I just thought wolf in front of moon. Seems cool. Seems like I should do that for a spooky painting. We're going to do that today. And so that's what we did. But I don't actually visualize it at all. If you are familiar with the artist John Green, he's also an aphant, and he did a informative post about it. I don't know how long ago, but I think it was on Twitter. It's definitely kind of been screenshotted and made its rounds though. So John Green also does not visualize anything. So if you've ever been like painting or reading or whatever, and the big one for me was guided meditation. There were tons of times as like a teenager where I would try to do like guided meditation, and I would get so frustrated with it and think it was so dumb because like everybody's sitting there closing their eyes imagining XYZ, and I'm just sitting there like, why are we doing this? So it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing. I'm going to have this tree over here be behind the cliff. Since I'm going to paint over the cliff to make sure it's not showing through, I'm not too worried about getting a little bit on the cliff because we're going to go over it anyway. So we're using all the same techniques right now that we used earlier. I'm going to go ahead and grab some more sap green just so that we can work in another layer of trees up front on top of these other guys. Again, we're using a dark green, so we're adding black or gray to the green and creating that dark color. I want to go ahead and put one here. We can talk again about how nature is not symmetrical and like the way that trees grow. Like there's not a pattern to it, so if you are painting along, try to avoid having it be too symmetrical, too perfect for your trees. We're going to make that tree taller. So that back tree is a little bit more wet than the front tree. So we need to make sure that we're having our brush pretty loaded up so that we're getting the tree in there. If you are hanging out and watching this stream today, let me know what you're thinking of this painting so far. If you have seen the others from the spooky series, the other two that we have done, let me know what you think of them. I'm super curious to hear people's thoughts. It also helps me look at my art in a different critical way, which helps me become a better artist. So feel free to share your thoughts. Let me know what you think. If you've tuned into the other streams, again, let me know if you prefer this angle. Alright. That's looking pretty good. I'm pretty nicely happy with this so far. We'll put another tree in here that'll come right up to that cliff. And then when that cliff gets defined a little bit better, that'll help with that tree. Okie doke. I am very pleasantly happy with this right now. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and call it a stop here for today. Just because, like I mentioned earlier, my body is kind of on an unhappy train today. And this painting needs to be allowed to kind of fully dry prior to going over in another layer. I am going to use our extra paints like we've been doing the last couple of streams to create another one of those abstract sister companion pieces. And so this is why I have been using a piece of paper as my paint palette, is because I can just kind of take the paint that's left over on there and just kind of mess around with it and create something completely different from what we're doing. And it's sometimes fun to just play with paint. Like, we spent 45 minutes today-ish basically just focusing on making something perfect. Let loose. Use your extra paint to not be perfect. It's okay. It's fun. The whole point of painting for me is to have it be fun, and you know, if we manage to sell something along the way, great. If we don't, I mean, am I having fun? Yeah. So I literally just took, I'm going to move this over here for a second, the extra paint that was on my piece of paper canvas here, and I just mushed it around until it looked like something that made me happy. It's literally just a mess of paint, and that's okay. But let me go ahead and turn you back around to me real quick. I appreciate you joining in today. I hope that you have had fun listening to me talk about my paintings or painting along if you did that. We try to stream every single day at 2 o'clock. I do usually post on my Instagram, painting_on_wheels, and let people know when we are getting started. If you don't see a post from me or you see a post saying that we're not doing it today, then that's what's going on, is that we're not doing it for one reason or another. We are doing micro paintings every day. That's the goal. And then if we have enough energy and enough time, we're doing some of the bigger paintings, like working on the spooky series. The spooky series, my original goal was to have it be done by the start of October, considering we are 2 more days away from the start of October, and our third one is needing to spend the rest of the day drying. That's not going to happen, so the goal is to now get it done by like the first Friday of October, which I think would be like the 5th or 6th or something like that. The 4th. So the goal now is to have it done by the 4th. So if you want to, you can tune in the next several days, the next week, and we will be continuing on with the spooky painting series. I am so happy with the Kiki's one from yesterday. It's great. Again, if you're interested in getting a micro painting that I've done previously as a commission, I am happy to do that, but the original micro paintings aren't for sale at this time. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram if that's something you're interested in. And then the spooky paintings also are not for sale at this time because they already have owners picked out. But I am happy to do one of those as a commission for you as well, either the same size or a larger size, or we can talk about it. Send me a message. But I hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday. Please stay safe out there with the storm rolling through. A lot of people are dealing with flooding. If you are in a flooding zone, please just stay safe. And I hope that you are well. And I hope that you're able to create something that is just beautifully, uniquely you today. Have a great rest of your Friday.